Attendance, grades, and drops today before midnight. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. How's
How are
it
you
going?
doing?
Good.
There we go.
So Deanna, did your Italian student go back home yet? Or did she fly home yet or not yet?
She's still here. She's leaving on the 20th or 22nd, 20th. Anyway, Italy doesn't allow any one coming in from the United States yet, but they are planning to allow people as of the 15th. So the first ticket they got was for the 20th. So that's the I think they're allowing people from Europe as of today. And it seems that from us as of the 15th. Of course, there's always the chance that they don't. And then we have a guest for a while longer. But that's how it is right now. Thanks for asking. Go ahead and sign into the chats and open your participants. There
Is
we
she
go.
getting pretty anxious to go home?
Yes and no. This is her year in the States, however badly or not it went, you know. It's like, and she has a boyfriend, which we haven't allowed her to see, so that she's not too happy about that, but whatever. They can see, they go to the driveway and they see each other from both sides of the driveway. But, he's not being very careful. He hangs out with his friends, so we're like, sorry, not happening. Got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm waiting for a couple more people. It looks like we're almost there. I admitted 2 more that aren't showing up yet, and there we go. Yeah, so I've been having a lot of fun the last few days. Oh, hold on. There we go. With my son, he's pretty amazing. Those of you who are in my art classes, Photoshop or things like that, I'm always showing some of his stuff, but I don't get to show it so much here in the math class. But he's an artist, a filmmaker, and whatnot, and he just made a children's book that he's been working on for a year and a half, and he just published him, and I helped him do the whole publishing, and yeah, and now he's decided to he decided to publish it in order to donate all the proceeds towards racial justice organizations, and I am very proud of him. So I'm helping him as much as I can. Okay, there we go. Looks like the last person is that I can see right now is here. So yeah, it's been fun discovering the world of self-publishing, which is what we've been doing. And it's published in Amazon right now. And so we're trying to get the word out and making little narrated videos. And
What's the name of it?
Oh, what's the name of it?
oh, it's Dragons Don't Eat People. Dragons Don't Eat People. And it's pretty cool because he didn't do it knowing any of what's happening right now, right? But it's one of those stories where, you know, there's prejudice against dragons because they eat people and no, they don't. And so let's build a wall to keep the dragons out. But he did all of this a year ago, so it's not like,
Wow.
but then he said, well, let's, you know, dragons can fly, walls don't keep them out. So let's figure out. And so anyway, it's, he's just such an artist. Anyway, we have 26. Let me get the next. But I'm always gushing about him, and you know,
Rightfully so.
what can I say? And yeah, there we go. So, how has it been going for you guys with your stuff on your computer? Hopefully, you've been analyzing it, figuring out what does work. Sorry, the fan behind me isn't pointing towards me, and the computer just fell down. Fortunately, are you still there? You guys still hear me?
We
I
can
heard
hear
you.
you. We can hear you, but we can't see you. We just see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Looks like your
computer.
camera's on the floor.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can reset it, because now it's up and running. How am I not? Let me get myself to stop video and start again. Ah, there I am.
There
Yeah,
you
my
go.
computer, I went over to move the fan because it's not hitting me, and suddenly I'm connected by the headsets, and I pushed the computer with me. Fortunately, it didn't fall far. I have Let me take this off to move this out of the way. Chair. Okay, that's better. All right, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I have I stand in front of my desk, but I have like a little table where I put the computer a bit higher so it can look straight at me. So it just fell from there onto the desk, so it wasn't too bad. This is my borrowed computer, remember? So I gotta take care of it. Okay, so I want to see from you guys, or hear, can't see anyone, hear from you guys, questions or results based on, did you create folders for, I'm reading some of your questions, folders for the majority of what you consider your files to be. And I didn't ask you yet to move them around. I said, if you know how to, go ahead and try, but let's wait and practice on some fake files first. But if there's any questions there, Yolanda wrote to me a question saying that she doesn't know where the tons of documents that she had are because she just switched to a new laptop a week before class started. Her old laptop fell and cracked. She got a new one, and so now where are the rest of your documents? Well, I wonder if they ended up on the cloud and not on your desktop. I don't know, we'll have to see, Yolanda, but did anyone else have any other question regarding creating those folders, needing to, yes, Chris?
Well, for the first time, maybe ever, I have nothing on my desktop. If only I could approach my living space this way, you know, 'cause I realized that when I was working, my desk at work was a mess. You know, there was some organization, but not everything was in the organized system. And that's how my desktop is, that's how my house is, that's how my car is. Anyway, you know, as of this moment, things are looking better than ever. And you know, now that I have a documents thingy, what do you call that? Documents.
It's a folder.
Unit?
It's a folder.
It's a folder. It's just a folder.
Like
Okay.
the main folder, but yeah.
Okay, so I've got tons of stuff in there, all neatly organized into folders and subfolders, and I love it.
Wow.
My downloads has hundreds of things in there because they've been there since I started downloading in there in 2012. And of course, a lot of them are unidentifiable without going and opening up each thing, which takes forever on my computer. So you know, that's still a work in progress, but I am so happy. So happy that Hannah told me about this class, because otherwise I would have probably gone to my grave with just chaos. So
I went to
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Hannah. Let me just say something, Molly.
Yeah.
You are what you just said is the kind of thing that I wish I could have a snippet and just like tell people, this is why you should take this life. But let me just let you in on a tiny secret.
Okay.
I learned this lesson long ago, right? So my computer is very tidy. But the second part, yeah, my husband would also wish that I was the same way with my house, right? So anyway, you know, we can't move it everywhere. But I've discovered early on that you can't have work for clients, for work, for you know, everything I do and not be able to totally like find it. The kind of job I do, you have a project which has so many related files, right? Because it's graphics and designs and stuff. And so I by force had to discover how to become organized, and it's a lifesaver. So I'm so glad. And you know, the kids at school are doing everything on computers now.
Yeah.
No one has taught them file management. My son's making these movies that are amazing and prize winning, and I'm going in there to help him. Where's your file? I don't know. Everything's all over the place, and I'm having to teach him. It's not one of those things that gets taught. You either learn it by yourself or you don't. So yeah, keep spreading the word. Thank you, Hannah. Yeah. So Molly, I interrupted you. Yeah.
Oh, no, I went on Finder under Princess Cruise, because I had to make a cancellation. And I was amazed. I had 100 transactions that I didn't even know I had, and so much trash. So I did all my
Wow.
trashing. So if you go to different subjects, you might be able to see how much trash you have.
Yeah.
Discarded.
Yeah, this is the part of the class where hopefully we would have had it a few, days earlier, which in real life we get to do a bit earlier than in Zoom, which is why I keep telling you, if you have a chance to move to and re-sign up to Mac OS level 1, there's more. There's still more of the basic stuff that's missing. That in OS level 2 we jump into apps, but I still want to get your computers functioning a little bit more efficiently. And some of you guys have done the work, and other of you guys are still trying to figure out how to do the work. So I want more time to help you figure out how to do the work. However great it is that we're teaching versus not teaching at all, it isn't as efficient on Zoom. And so I'm finding that I can't get you to the place where I would like to leave you at by the end of this class, but I'm doing what we can. Anna, you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to share that I've done a lot of organization, so that was great. I still have, in my downloads folder, I have 13 items, but in the recents, I have 128. So I'm not 100, I understand, what you had said last week, that recents or whatever stuff you've looked at. So, but do I need to kind of go, do I just ignore the recents? I mean, that's kind of the impression I got after last week, or last Monday.
Yeah, in the downloads folder, you have 13, but how about your desktop and your documents? I mean,
my desktop, I have like 4 items, and my documents, I have 7 now. I've combined it for seven items.
So what the recents is telling you is the history of what you did last. So maybe you opened something on Friday, and then you opened it on Tuesday, and then maybe you moved some things on, Wednesday. And so that's just a history, but it isn't equivalent to how many files you have, because it isn't your files. It's just a listing of actions that you've taken. If you've just viewed it and closed it again, it'll probably, I'm not sure exactly what triggers it to be there. I'm not sure if viewing it triggers it, but yeah, but it's not equivalent. It's not a number that's equivalent to files at all. It doesn't add up, because maybe you have files that you haven't worked on since 2012. They wouldn't be in recents, but you own that file, right? So it really is only and I don't know how far it goes. I've been doing a lot of other stuff research, but I didn't research that. How long does that list of recents go? Although someone last week said that they had things from 2012 in the recents list. So maybe it goes forever if you scroll all the way down. I don't know. So anyway, that would be weird though, because it would only have started since we started this system. And in 2012, there wasn't such a thing. That's not true. There's always been a recents. Let me just tell you that there's always been a recents. It was not easy to find though. Before in the Finder, you would have to go up to Finder, File, and underneath that there would be a recents thing. And it was always there. We just didn't see it. Now they've put it up in the forefront. So maybe the history has been there forever and it's just picking up from that. I don't know. Okay, so make sure to keep going into your chat and signing in that you're here. And other than that, I'm going to lead us into creating more folders. And you guys hear a weird noise in the background?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, let me mute everyone. So now everyone's muted. If you need to talk to me, you're gonna have to unmute yourself, because since I don't know where it's coming from, I just turn everything off. Okay. So we're gonna do step by step, create some folders, which is all we got to do the other day. And then I just told you, and then doing nothing else, put your name on it, right? That's as far as we got. We're gonna get into, well, what if I didn't put the name on right? What if I had a typo? How do I rename it? What if I forgot to make hands off the mouse and just click, write a name? So we're gonna, what if I don't want it to be financial? What if I want it to be finances? It doesn't matter that it's right or wrong. When you want to change something or you want to edit something, we're gonna change some folder names. And then I want to start creating some files that we're going to move around and put them in one, put them in other, so that we can begin to feel comfortable moving things. Now, I want to say that you need to be cautious, because as much as we're going to create some fake folders and a couple of fake files, you are going to end up having to use this on your own files. You are in your own computer, right? So first, when you're first learning, just do it on the fake files. And then when you feel more confident, begin to move your own files. You can't lose them too terribly bad. They're still somewhere in your computer, but sometimes if you don't remember their names, they're not that easy to find. So I'd rather you be a bit more careful with your own files at the beginning, okay? Now, the other thing that you had to do was you had to prepare a list of file name or extensions that you had no idea what they were. And I want to bring up what Chris said about, now she has, you know, hundreds of files from way long ago that she doesn't want to have to open each one to see. And I just want to remind you that you don't really have to open each one to see. There's that quick preview that you can look inside of a file before you open it. That said, on a slow computer, even the quick preview takes a little bit of time, and you mentioned that yours is slow. I would actually also say, Chris, that there's a chance that it's also slow because of a lot of extra stuff that you've had there forever that you don't need. And once you begin to recognize it and get rid of it, it might be tedious to do the quick preview from a lot, but you might get much better function of your computer once you do that. I also want to say that there's a time where at some point something can also be wrong on your computer. If your computer is slow as molasses, and I'm talking, I work for SB Bike, and I was there yesterday trying to help the executive director's computer, which every transaction I was timing it, you just click on something and a little wheel starts going, and you know, minute and a half later it happens. So that's not slow as molasses. That's not even a snail would get there faster. There's something truly wrong there, and the computer isn't full, and I've cleaned out a couple of bugs. So after trying everything I could, I'm basically going to time machine back it all out and then completely erase and reinstall the whole thing, because there's a time and place where there's just crud and junk and mess, and I wouldn't recommend anyone taking it on their own. But that's the kind of thing that if you do have a good backup and you're comfortable with that, you know, as an extreme measure, like if you're, like I'm telling you, a minute and a half per thing, right? You just click and nothing happens. Not just, oh, it's slowing down. Sometimes the only solution is to reinstall the OS and then recover everything from your time machine and keep going. But things can, you know, sometimes passwords and things like that become a mess. So before you do that, make sure that it's really necessary. And if you need to do it with help, Mac Mechanic helps people do that. So anyway, that's just look into that. It's not always solvable just by getting rid of some files, right?
So I did call Mac Mechanic a couple weeks ago, and I said, you know, my computer seems to be slow. Can you do anything about it? Well, it's a computer that was built in 2011. I bought it in 2012.
Oh, yeah.
And they, you know, they're saying it's old. You know, 8 years doesn't seem like an old computer to me, but what do I know? But for $140, I can take it to them and they will see what they can do, if anything.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's always how much you put into a computer or not, right? And I had to actually fix my computer. That's why I'm on this loan one, because my hard drive died. And I had to decide, well, is it new enough? Is it worth it to put money into it at this point or not? And I ended up putting money into it. Mine is a 2015. But yeah, I caution you on putting too much money on an older computer. It just gets to the point where, what did you say? You know, dog years or 7 years. A 7-year, you know, a 10-year-old dog is 7 years old. Well, yeah, an 8-year-old computer is 80 years old. And you can, you know, pump in vitamins, you know, you can, but it's, you know, it's beautiful, do it what it can do, but don't expect it to do the newest, you know, whiz bang things. And then at some point, save that money and invest on actually getting a newer system, because you just can't it's not like a car. If it keeps running, it keeps taking you there. A computer, all software that goes into it keeps getting different. You're using different software, and your computer doesn't have the power to make that software work. So if you could stay with the software from years ago, that would be great, but you can't. The software won't work. It continuously updates, and so your computer slowly gets to the point where it's just obsolete in how it can run that stuff. So it's, as much as my 20-year-old car I loved and adored because it took me everywhere, a 20-year-old computer is not the same creature. So yeah, you can put more RAM to make it a little bit faster, but don't spend too much more money on a 2011. Enjoy it for what it is. Clean it up.
Well, where do you recommend going for a new MacBook?
Oh, I always say this at the beginning of the class. I'm so glad you asked. You guys are all college students. I know, you're like, really? Yep, you're college students. You're college students. So you get college discounts. So if you go in person the day we can to the Apple store and say you're a student, they give you a discount. If you go online to the Apple store and you go to the, when they say educational, there's a section and you click, basically you buy the same stuff, but because you're a student, you get a really good discount. And I mean, really, it depends on the material and on what they're discounting, but I'm talking even for some of the things, even 20%. And how do you prove you're a student? Okay, this is the big part. Your pipeline email address is what makes you a student. Your pipeline, and I always do this on the board, and since I don't have a board, give me a second while I explain this to you physically. Once you get around, I'm going to do this over here. Once you get around to being in person again, you can go to the front office and say, can I have a student card? And they print out a little card like a credit card, but it has all your information as a student. They do it in 3 minutes. Take a picture right there on a machine and it pumps out a little credit card, and that you get all of the discounts that students get. But if you are online for software, for anything, I'm writing it right now. So let me share this with you because it's important that you know. Here we go. Okay, so I'm sharing it, but I need to make it bigger for you to see it. But, here you go. So this, I'm gonna make, actually, let me lay it out on its side. I don't know how to do the layout on this thing. Make it bigger. And here we go. Format the document into this orientation. So your user account, the name that you type in to access your pipeline, okay, is what goes in here. And then at pipeline.sbcc.edu. Okay, so this is what you've typed in when you try to get into the handouts, when you try to go to do all the stuff we're doing in your emails. At pipeline.sbcc.edu, that's your school email address. So write that down carefully, pipeline.sbcc.edu. And that's all you need to do. If you go then to any online place and try to get online discounts, there's a site called College, I don't know why I separated it. It's not separated, collegebuys.org. Collegebuys.org as not com.org. They sell software for students. It's a consortium of California community colleges. I believe other states are beginning to join in on it. And they sell software for really, really low prices to students. And they say, well, are you a student? And you say, yes, well, prove it to me. And that's what you do. You give them your pipeline email, okay? So write those things down. But when it comes to software, when it comes to hardware, you know, the Apple Store or an Apple retailer, I do not know, maybe you guys know, if you go to a place like Best Buy's, if they consider a student discount if you buy an Apple product, I have no idea. But if you go straight to Apple or to apple.com, they do give you the student discount. And The other option is to be really risky, and I've done it. So when you really need it, is to buy a secondhand computer from someone and hope that it truly is in good shape, in which case, you know, luck of the draw. One last thing, Anne, I hear you. On the Apple site, they have a place where they also sell, on the actual Apple site, where they sell refurbished computers that they've gotten and they've refurbished, and they sell them for cheaper. Not a ton cheaper, but cheaper. A nice percentage cheaper. It's like a thrift store. When you go, you only have what they have, right? And sometimes they have 10 computers, sometimes they have one, sometimes they have 15. But that's another place to find. That's actually certified by them because they've refurbished it. Or go to places like Mac Mechanic and ask them if they have anything used in good shape. Ask them if they take into account student discounts. And Costco is selling them for pretty cheap, but they sell them for what they sell them. You don't get student discounts. So I'm not sure if they compare, if you get less on a student discount at Apple Store or less if you buy for Costco. I don't know. Anne?
There's a store in Carpinteria called iPower, and they sell refurbished Apple products. And I've had very good luck that my computer, my MacBook Pro is from there, and they help you. They help you set it up. They help you transfer all your stuff from your old computer to your new computer. They're very good. It's called iPower.
And I did not know about that. I really appreciate that. If you have a chance to shoot me a quick email for that, because I'd love to look into that, because when people ask me questions, I like to recommend local businesses. And so that's really good to know. I had no idea. So, but Viola? I can't hear you. You need to change your sound on. Thank you.
Is Catalina the latest model?
It's the latest software, the latest OS system. And so if you buy a new computer, it'll come with Catalina. But it's not the latest model of computer. Apple doesn't change their models so often. When you go to the store, you will buy whatever is their latest, and they have like basically 5 designs. The MacBook Pro, the MacBook Air, the desktop. So it's not like there's many choices.
Yeah, but you once said that you had a reason for not buying Catalina yet because of something. And I forget what that was. Could you repeat it?
Yeah, and that's not buying, that's free. It's upgrading your software. So if you are working on a software that's the operating system that's older, when you move up to Catalina, there are certain things that stop working. You need to first make sure that you're willing to research your printers and your other devices to make sure that they're still going to work before you upgrade and discover, wow, I can't downgrade, and now I don't have a printer. Now I spend on a printer that I didn't expect to buy, or things like that. Ooh, I'm muting everyone because again, there's some noises in the background from someone moving around. So if you were trying to answer back, Viola, I just muted everyone because of some noises that were back there. So Anna,
So the last question, you had mentioned once about being able to get Office free. Is that something we can do as a student? I'm just kind of asking about that.
No, it's totally. I'll answer really quickly, and then I'll point you to a handout. But if you go to office.com, you get Office 365. If you sign in it's an educational account or whatever, they ask you, well, sure, prove to me you're a student, and you go, yes, I am. You give them this pipeline, and then you just download Office 365 for free because you're a student of City Valley City College. Some certain colleges, if they have those agreements, it's not like every student in the world, but City College has that agreement, and you get Office 365 for free. There's a handout that I can put in the handout section. If you send me a quick email, because since I teach Office, I give it to them, but I'll send a handout about that. Yes, Chris?
If you do purchase something and using that pipeline as your verification that you're a student, do you do your transaction on the pipeline through pipeline email?
Yeah, definitely. Good point. Sometimes people have bought something through College Buys through pipeline, and they go, they didn't answer because they're waiting for an answer on their regular email. No, you have to go to your pipeline.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
who you're communicating as such and such at pipeline, so that's where you'll get all of your back and forth. Yeah.
So you can't just tell them, oh, this is my other email, the pipeline one. No.
I mean, you might try, but the whole point is that you're a student and that's why you're getting it for that price. So you're supposed to be dealing with them as a student. So, yeah, I'm just, I don't know, individual people might be willing to change your email address, but as an account, if you ever go in to see where if they say ask you for your account or whatever, it'll be your pipeline email will be your account. And then the question comes, well, what when I'm not a student anymore? And just to close up this whole chapter, there's no reason to not be a student anymore because our classes are free. And if you sign up for a class every semester, a non-credit free class every semester, you will be a student. So that's fine. In fact, you can skip a semester and you would still be a student. You can't skip two. All right. Thank you. Again, amongst all the stuff that I usually cover, and I didn't have the time to cover everything, I do cover this a lot at the beginning. So hopefully that'll give us a beginning of that. And then Paul asked, what's the name of the store again? Anne, what was the name of the Carpinteria store?
iPower store.
iPower. Okay. So I'm going to write it there. iPower in Carpinteria. Okay, so, oh, I answered only two. I hate it when my answers go only to one person. I power in carp. Very quick little. Okay. Tell me, when you guys try these new things, just send me emails. Oh, I went to this place and it was great or not. Because, you know, people ask me all the time and I don't buy all the time computers. So I only hear from people who do it, whether things work or not. And that's why I send people to Mechanic, because everyone has really always told me how great they've been. This is my first time I've actually had to use them myself. I was saying, you know, I send students to you guys all the time. They're like, yeah. Just trying to get a discount. They didn't give me one, by the way, but I wasn't asking for one either. But I was like, no, really, I do send students to you all the time. Anyway, okay. So now let's go to any more questions you have of this nature. You know, ask me in person, but now I'm going to quit that pages and go into our folders. So hopefully you have found a way to I don't like giving you my back, so I'm going to actually, you know what? I'm going to change that, which I'm going to move to.
Great photo.
Not mine, belongs to the computer, but thank you. I'm actually going to, who's sharing? Betsy Newman is sharing. I'm going to stop your sharing, Betsy. Let me see, because somehow I can't seem to stop you. You need to stop your own sharing. Betsy, can you please hit the stop sharing? There we go. Thank you. Perfect. All right. Now I can share. Okay. So last class, I had created some nice folders and thrown a bunch of stuff in there, but I did it kind of as a demo at the end. So I unstuffed all those folders. Everything's a bit of a mess right now again. And now the goal is to try to do it with you guys and trying to figure out how to set up a structure. I'd like to have some feedback. Just put your hand on your space bar, be respectful if someone else is speaking, and just quickly tell me what folders you created. Like I created a financial, or I created a, you know, quilting, or what folders did you guys create for your computer?
Travel.
I have
Say that
a
again.
folder called George, and everything of mine is in there under many sub folders.
Okay. And those subfolders are organized in what? By material?
Well, there's a folder called financial, and under that I have income tax. Under that I have the various income tax folders, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so what you'll find is that if you have a lot of financial stuff and you throw everything into financial, well, at least it's a financial mess, but it's all in one folder. But then you might still want to start going, okay, like I have clients, you know, invoices, receipts, job orders, stuff like that, or taxes. And you have a folder called taxes. And then inside of that, you have 2020, 2019, 2018, 2013. Inside of taxes, you might have receipts, profit, you know, stocks, whatever. So you can organize it down to as far as you want to, right?
Yeah, that's how I have it.
Exactly. Wonderful. So let's all imitate George and get everyone else, and maybe it seems Chris, who set it up this weekend, and let's get everything set up into what works for you. Any other folders that you guys created for based on?
I do have a question. I
Yeah.
have that big folder on the desktop. Does it, and with all the other sub and subfolders inside, does that slow down my computer?
It depends on how big your computer is and how much space you have used up on it. And if you have a lot of photos and videos, definitely it's so easy to just copy that same thing out of the desktop into the documents. It works just as well. Sorry, it works way better. And you don't have the potential of it messing up with how your computer works. But if your computer works absolutely fine, it used to be a golden rule never to. Now it's more like a very strong recommendation not to, unless your computer is feeling the effects of all that stuff. Now, if you have videos or photos, they should definitely not be on the desktop. Applications should definitely not run from the desktop. But if you just have files and they are like, you know, Word files, Excel files, that kind of stuff that is just data, you can have many of them and it doesn't affect, they aren't as big as something with a lot of images. And so you can have many of those. Hopefully we'll get to the place today. And if not, that's what I'd like to keep looking into in the future class is if you do put all that stuff in your documents folder and they're not in your desktop, some of you guys are like, well, yeah, but now where are my files, right? How do I get to them easily? Because they're not easily visible anymore, right? Well, there's two answers to that. When your files are on your desktop and you have an application open, you're not seeing them anyway. So it's not like they should be visible. You have applications open, right? So you still have to minimize your application to see your files. So you're just accustomed to having them there, but in reality, they're no more accessible than they were if they would be inside of the right place. If you put them in the desktop, from the desktop into the documents folder, then what you do is you just open a Finder window. Instead of seeing them on the desktop, you see them in a Finder window. But the second part of that is that what you can do is you can have aliases on the desktop. And aliases are just pointers to your document. So if you check your financial documents a lot, instead of having all your financial documents in the desktop, you put them all in the right place, which is in the documents folder, and then you make a little alias that is one little folder that's an alias. I'll show you how to make that on your desktop. This is called financials, and when you double click on that, there you are. So, but it's not living there. It's actually just a pointer. Just like all the icons on your dock, that's not your app. You just click on it and it makes the app that's in the application folder open. Same with an alias, or like, you know, everything. The only things that are that final piece are those which have that weight that become what gums up the desktop, the actual file. But if you put a pointer to the file, that's fine to do it on the desktop. Then the only negative of that would be to have a desktop cluttered with icons that become just as hard to navigate, right? So if you have a certain pointed ones in the right place and you know where they are, that's fine. But when you begin to put everything on the desktop because you don't know if you'll find it later, well, that computer desktop becomes hard and impossible to navigate in and of itself, right? So it depends. The answer isn't a yes or strict yes or strict no. Just don't have big files, and ideally have only aliases that point you to that. But there is one more thing you can do, which is have an alias, it's called a stack, on your dock. So say that you're writing a novel. Well, you're actively writing a novel, and you know, every few weeks you end a chapter, you start another, and you have them in different files. Well, you can have a little icon on your dock, just like you have an icon for Mail and for Safari or for Chrome. You have an icon on your dock for your novel, and you click on that and you quickly access all your chapters. So that would be another alias in a cleaner place in the dock. And then your desktop is still empty, which, you know, as far as Apple is concerned, you're supposed to have this zen, empty, clean looking, beautiful computer. So if that's the aesthetic that you like, then you just put your icons and aliases in your doc. If you're happy having icons all over your desktop, you have them there as long as they're aliases. It's when they're actual files and photos that they become a problem for the computer, or when there's tons of files. So my recommendation, George, and I speak at length because I'm not just talking to George, I'm hoping every one of you guys is hearing. This is an answer that works for everyone. My recommendation is that you drag your folder called George into your documents, and then you pull out the ones that are truly active, and you create either an icon on your doc, or if you're really accustomed to using your desktop, because you already have only one folder on your desktop, you told me, called George. So you already are doing that. Like, you're going into the icon called George to get all your files. So you're already doing it right. It's just in the wrong place.
Question, does it matter whether I bring it into the documents folder under iCloud or under favorites?
Okay, so did you move your stuff off of the cloud? You asked me for a handout. Did you get to do that or not yet? Is your stuff still in the cloud?
I got the handout, but I haven't done anything. But what I did do is I put a folder named documents under favorite.
Well, but if it's just a document you made, that doesn't mean much. If it's a folder you created and made, that's not what you need to do. If it's a folder you made, that's not the same. It's like another room called the same name. So that one's not really valid. Might as well call it George or my documents or my travels, but that's not what you need to do. What you need to do is recover all the stuff once you disconnect and bring it in. So right now, your documents are still on the cloud. And if you make that George folder that you say you put in your desktop, that's still in the cloud as well, even though it looks like it's in your desktop. Okay?
But I sent you, even though it's in the iCloud, I can go into it even when I'm disconnected from the internet.
Yeah, and maybe you weren't here the class when I explained all of that. And let me just really quickly remind everyone that just because it says it's in the cloud, it doesn't mean it's not on your computer. You just can't. As soon as I start explaining this stuff, it all becomes so complicated. Remember, I told you in the end what matters is how it works, not so much where they are. But there's a hidden folder in your computer, which is where they are. But it's inaccessible. It's way inside of this whole the system library stuff where your files are still there, which is why even if you disconnect, you still see the same weight or size on your computer as if it hasn't gone away. You just need to recover them so that they become visible. Your files, if you remember, I told you can go into a forest, and Chris had asked me, if you want to keep writing and you go for a vacation for 2 weeks disconnected from the internet, well, your files are still on your computer. It's the moment you walk into Wi-Fi again that they all talk and they update, right? Because really the files are not really gone from your computer. They're just in a place that's hiding, and I don't even want to go into all the technical reasons. But actually, George, of the 2 articles I send you, one of them does go into that if you read it deeply. So you can find more of the technicalities in that of where they truly are in your computer, okay? So yes, you can be disconnected from Wi-Fi and still safely work on all your files. If that is that exact moment, you compare what's on the cloud and on your computer, they won't be the same. And then the moment your computer connects to Wi-Fi, that moment those files become the same again. Okay. All right. I've been talking while my file has been shared. Usually I like to talk without my screen being shared, so I'm sorry about that because you guys see me like a little talking head. But I wanted to go over here and say that, well, I didn't get much more than George's feedback of other folders that you created. If you want to shout out 1 or 2 more that you might have created. No? Chris, you said you created a lot of stuff. Anything you want to?
Well, I have like recipes, political, travel. I have one for digital books that I've downloaded.
Great.
And one for one of my sons because I have some of his stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have all of my kids' stuff on the computer too. So yeah. Anyone else? Anything very different than what's been said? Just to it helps other people hear and go, oh, I have some of that too. Yolanda.
Yeah, so I think mine might relate to what George and you were talking about. On my documents, it only has, and they're all in blue, it has 5, and Zoom was even there. So it has the folder finance is, I just put that because last time you were sampling it. So it's there. And then Macintosh HD, Microsoft user data, it has a slide, a big, like loud, but it has an X on it, and then the Zoom. So those are the 5 folders in there.
So Yolanda, last week after class, I helped you, and I'll need to help you again either during break or last week. You probably have your stuff in the cloud and they're not showing up on your desktop. So I can send you the same folder. But it occurs to me, wait, Yolanda, it occurs to me that in order to do that, you should probably wait because Yolanda has the awesome advantage is she has in-house help because her sons help her with her computer. So you should wait. They take over online. They're far away, but they take her computer over and do stuff, kind of like I was doing. So you should wait before you try to fix that whole system until you get some of their support. But your stuff is probably online and needs to be brought down onto your computer. But I will confirm on that at the end of the class. For now, for today, just use all these files that we're going to create in order to do the assignments. I don't want to mess with your computer files in a 2-second talk because it will be a disaster. Okay, so Betsy?
I'm wondering what the easiest way is to get to my desktop when you have something up on the screen. I don't seem to be able to push it aside or.
Yeah, there isn't, which is why you should, thank you for asking that. There isn't, which is why it's really not useful to have stuff on the desktop. If you're someone who uses your computer, the desktop should be covered, right? Versus if it's in the documents, then you go to that Finder icon. Cling. The same, which is always in your doc. You click on that, up comes the Finder, and there you still have all your stuff in your documents. Or that would be the best way to get your desktop because you open you have a bunch of stuff open. You go down to your doc, you click on this, it opens up, and then you go to desktop, and then you see what's on your desktop, which is weird because why then have it there? But the only reason to have stuff on your desktop would be if your computer is always, everything is turned off, and thus you see it there. But I never have everything turned off on my computer. So to me, when things are on my desktop, it's a hassle. I need to move things aside. Or you can use a shortcut, which is called Command Hide, and then hide all your programs to get to your desktop. But it's for me, it's a hassle, but I understand that it also feels like I know where it is. So people have that security that at least they know where it is, because they can see it. So other than that, though, it is a hassle because you have to close everything to get to it. So yeah, it's a matter of preference. If it didn't affect the work of the computer, then it's just a matter of preference and what you're accustomed to. I think someone else, yes, Anne was waving. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, I've got 2 files that I didn't create. One's called My Data Sources and another's called Registry Backups.
And they are where?
In my documents.
And do you do things online such as genealogy, or I'm trying to think what could be my registry sources or things, because there's a few things like Microsoft Office puts in, Yolanda just mentioned it, something like Office, you just mentioned it, Yolanda, what was it? There's something Microsoft puts in there, Adobe puts in there, some apps put in there.
Microsoft.
It just says that. There's some apps put a folder in your documents to put some of their stuff in there. And I'm wondering if that's what it is. Did you open it? What's in them?
Yeah, well, it just has numbers. Let's see. And then it says EXEC.
Okay, so that's something, did you have a PC before?
Yes.
Yeah, so an EXE or EXEC, that's a Windows program. So remember I said, give me extensions of files that you didn't understand. This is one of them. Extension, that's a Windows program, which will never work and be absolutely useless on your Mac. So if you still have a Windows, it's probably an old program. Check on the date for it and see. But if you'll never have a Windows anymore, just get rid of it. Maybe it was some kind of I don't know what it could have been. It's a program. It's software. An exe or exec is a software for
And then-
a Windows machine.
My data sources, they say ODC and CPGZ.
Yeah, that one, I'd have to look it up, but it seems to be the same kind of thing. It's a place where you have information. What's the date on it? Look at the date of those files.
One says 2000, I think they are. 2000. Maybe it was on my computer when I bought it, you know? Like I say, it's refurbished.
No, if they cleaned
It's
it out
zip.
for you professionally, then no.
It's a zip drive, zip, it says.
Mhm. Yeah, well, if it's nothing, if it's nothing that has anything to do with you, I would just dump it, because if it's a zip, I'll explain what zip files are in a minute. Let's just keep going then and keep that in mind, because there's some files, if they're PC files, they're useless to you, unless you have a PC that's fresh and useful, but then it just means you transferred all your stuff from your PC into your Mac to start using a Mac, and stuff came along that's no good. So get rid of it. You'll never, that's fine that it's there, but it's absolutely useless. There's some kind of ghost icons that get created when you put certain PC things onto a Mac that are just basically saying, this is PC stuff. And again, you can get rid of those. If you ever see a file that has one of those little tildes in front, which is like a little, instead of a dash, it's like a little wave, that's a lot of what goes on the front name of a file when it's telling you that it's not a valid file for this computer and stuff like that. So there's little things like that. I would recommend put all that stuff in a folder of who knows what this is, and then slowly start Googling what's a file that's .otcb or whatever, and find out what that it is to find out if it's anything that you think might matter. But if it's from the year 2000, I 100% give you permission to get rid of it. And I assure you, you will not come back saying you lost something important. Okay. So here I am on my computer, on my desktop. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so that you can make it bigger for you to see. And in my desktop, I have some loose stuff. Okay. And in my documents, I have some folders, an attempt at organization, and a bunch of loose stuff. Now, where it gets confusing for people is if you're looking at it like this, or like this. These are view as icons, view as list, view as columns. And so from the very beginning, I'm trying to always make sure that we all look at them the same way, at least in class. And because I actually personally work on this view myself, because it's the view that's been in the Mac since the day it was born, and I am so accustomed to it, it's second nature to me. But this view is the one that's the easiest to understand when I explain. And so for years now, this is the version that I use when I teach it, and I discover it is a much easier way to understand what's happening, okay? So, so for everyone, when you open a window, you might go to a different window and suddenly you're seeing things differently. Always go back to see it that way. After a while of doing that a few times, you'll discover that everything shows up that way. You just look at because it's in a different view, like the view, which is like change it to the view. Okay? Next time, go back to the in that. Right? So you need to go to one of these things, change it to that view, and then go to that view. You kind of do that a few times, and by the time you're done, everything you can see, you're seeing the same view, and then it all becomes much more seamless to work with. Does that make sense? Because it's confusing when you go back and it shows different. It's the same stuff, but it shows it a different way. It's a different problem or a different, way of seeing things, and all you're doing is you've got each folder viewed in a different way. So, so do that. I'm done. Click on the third one, which is as a column, and go on and so forth. So you do every single one of these, except for AirDrop. And I'm not doing that now. In macOS level 2, we will work on different apps, and I'll explain to you AirDrop. But leave it there because that's fine where it is. It has to do with communicating between computers, so it's not about file management. And then, yes, you should have recent applications downloads. Some of you up here see desktop and documents, and some of you see iCloud desktop and documents up here, and some of you see it on its own. Okay. I put, over the last couple of days, I put two new handouts in the handouts folder. One is the one that a couple people needed for bringing their files back from the cloud, disconnecting them from the cloud and putting them back into their computer. So don't do that unless you really, that's what you need. But I also put a handout there, which is to distinguish, what are the differences, I guess, I remember the name, between the cloud and the iCloud, which some people might still have confusion about that. iCloud is one of the many programs and services that, the iCloud Drive is one of the many services that the iCloud offers. So it's the difference between the iCloud and the iCloud Drive, I'm sorry. And then I had already there one that talked about the differences between the cloud and the iCloud. So anyway, if you sit and read a lot of what I give you, I try to find the websites and the tutorials and the resources that are easy to understand. You will not lose access to those handouts. Once I've given you access, I don't know, they'll be there forever until someday I decide to clean it up, but I don't know, I don't foresee doing that in a couple of years. So keep using that as a resource for things that you might need. Now, let's head over to the desktop for everyone. And I helped people last week who couldn't really see when I was explaining and see their own desktop. Hopefully you've all figured out a way to do that by now. And because I want you now to be on your own Finder window on the desktop as well. And to open a window, remember you go to your Finder and pop it open. By default, it'll land wherever your computer lands by default, and then you take it to wherever you want. And I want you to be on your desktop right here. And so on your desktop, if you have any files, some of you are not willing to do this, but if you, by the way, see how I'm putting my mouse on this little line here? And when I put my mouse on that line, right on that line, right there, it turns into a double-headed arrow. And I can then make it big. No, this one it's not turning. I can click and make it bigger and smaller, right? So notice that these files have really long names. So what it does is it keeps the first, I think, 10, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or so letters. Then it puts 3 little dots. And then it puts the last 8 or 9 letters again. See that? So I don't know if you can go to your options, view options, and zoom in a little bit, but that's how the Mac handles a long file name. So one option of how to be able to still see the name of that file is if you go and extend, like click and drag this little column. Now you can see that this side said desktop documents in iCloud, desktop documents in computer screenshot. If you need to see the whole name, you have to stretch out that column. Does that make sense? Now, remember that the only part that matters in an icon, in an arrow, is the very, very tip of my arrow. See how the tip of my arrow is what's touching? Over here, it's the back of my arrow that's touching, and you really need to zoom in to see what I'm talking about. That does not work. It has to be the very tip of my arrow, and then it'll work. Okay, so everyone, extend your columns to see the full extent of the name that you are trying to read. Okay. Okay. And then once you see that, remember, go up to the little thing that says your view in Diana Musacchio's screen, view options, and you can zoom in to what I'm showing you, okay? So up at the top of your screen, if you zoom in, click on that, you could say 100% or 150% or, you know, original or whatever you want to see that works for you to see it a little bit better, because you can't it's a small window anyway. How many, when you look down at the number, I have 3 items. How many of you guys have more than 10 items in your desktop? And it's okay. I'm not gonna, like, you know, I'm not even in person, because, you know, at school I always admonish you that I'm gonna go and, you know, like slap it. I can't. So you can tell me. All right, so I saw only one hand sending you have more than 10 things on your desktop. I have a slight suspicion, 2 hands. I have a slight suspicion that the rest of you guys are deciding not to own up. Yeah, I see Hannah and I see Molly. Everyone else is just like, I'm not gonna say anything. If you have, thank you, Anita has 0. If you have nothing on your desktop, that's fine. If you have something on your desktop, I challenge you to put them in your documents. But here's what we're gonna do. One way to do it safely would be to create a folder called Documents from the Desktop, drag it all into the Documents folder, or Files from the Desktop or whatever, and then at least if you decide which ones you really want back, you don't have them lost amongst 250 other things. You know what I mean? So since only 2 of you said you had them, I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but that sounds a little bit fishy. Most people have more than that. But what I recommend is to make a folder right here. So remember how I make a folder? Right click in this first column, new folder. And then I would say Files from Desktop, and hit return. And go put itself wherever the F belongs amongst all your files, right? And then I would recommend just putting all the files from your desktop in that one folder, because at the very least, the George has one folder called George, and he's all his stuff on the desktop in a folder called George. I see some of you want to be as I said, I'm going to bring up here. I'm used to only 2. I learned that more you out there. Please, you can call file desktop. And then I'm going to grab each one of these files, and if you don't have your desktop, then you're going to do this in docs. But now I'm thinking about this. I'm going to grab these files and right into blue, right and low. Now to the columns that those desktop. Now I have a screenshot and move it into there, and I'll move it into there. So now I have one folder client with those 3 files. They all were on my desktop. Now, if you have, since men, you know, someone asked me before, how do you handle 20, 50, 70 files? I'll show you, but no one said they had that many files on the desktop, so I'm not going to show you that right now. So if you look at my screen, though, down here, you'll see that I still have a few more things. Now I have one folder at the bottom here that says Files from Desktop, and yet I have something that says Nancy, I have Sandra, I have these are attached hard drive. This is an external hard drive that's got. This here is a camera card that I took some pictures. I'm downloading from camera, and this is a flash drive. It's called Nancy gave me. So those always appear on your desktop. Someone's asking things on your desktop on. Attachments, things that you plug in as USBs, they just pop in, but they're not considered files. This, on the other hand, is, so when I look at my desktop, I only see one thing, which is the folder which has these 3 files. Those others don't show up on my desktop. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and this is the thing that might challenge you a little bit, but I'm going to say that I want to move this file folder and drag it up. This is what I can George do. Anyone else, because George has one folder called George and drag your file. Grab this and drag until you see this. Now this is important. Don't go until you see documents turn. So don't let go if you see a line like that. Don't let go if you see cloud or anything else turn blue. Wait until you see the word documents turn blue. Once it's blue, then you let go. And then it came in to documents. If I go back to my desktop, it's empty. If I go to documents, It's one more thing amongst everything, but there it is, files from desktop. And yes, there it is. I have my desktop files. Now, for those of you who right now are beginning to hyperventilate, because if you had a lot of stuff in your computer just went zoop, and your desktop is now looking empty. Yeah? So if anyone right now, I'm seeing a couple of like, sweaty faces and like ruffled hair. It's all right. It's all right. This is the right place for these things to be. But I'm going to give you an out. Watch what I'm going to do. Say that you look at all the files that you had on your desktop. They'll be here. And you go, you know what? I would just die if this one file was not back on my desktop, if I could not access it easily. Because it's possible that you have, if you were someone who had 50 icons, maybe there's 5 you cannot live with that you use daily. Or if you were someone who had 5, maybe those are the 5 that you already cleaned up enough. Come on, I took everything off. You're really going to take the last 5 from me? I can see you saying. Yes, because now what I'm going to have you do is make an alias of those so that if you really like to use your desktop, you can still use your desktop. Plan B would be to put them here on, by saying here, I mean the dock where you can access them from there. But I don't necessarily want to, you know, cut the umbilical cord to the desktop too much for those of you who have you been using it for years? If you've not been using it for years, just don't start using it because it makes no sense. It's not comfortable. As Hannah said, there's no actual quick way to get to it. Or was it Anne that asked me? But here it is. Say that you need to put this one, and I'm going to choose this one, back on the desktop. We're not going to put it back on the desktop. It's going to live in the documents folder, but I'm going to put a little link to it. It's called an alias. Okay. On those who used PCs in the past, we used to call them shortcuts. Here on the Mac, we call them aliases. So here's how we're going to do that. Watch. I'm going to choose the one that I want back on my desktop. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say make alias. Make alias. Okay. So once again, I'm going to show you again. I haven't said yes to it yet. Desktop, right click, make alias. Now, once I click on that, it looks like I have a duplicate file here. I want you to be clear that it's not, because please zoom in if you need to. But that is the real document in iCloud Drive, desktop documents in iCloud Drive, alias. And you recognize it because the icon has a little arrow. There's a little arrow, and I don't know if you can see that well, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do now. I'm going to drag this desktop alias out, and now you should see that arrow better. See that little arrow there? Little arrow. Can you zoom into me? If not, do it yourself, and then you'll see it. So an alias, right there, that little arrow, that little black thing, it's as if it were the file. It's back on your desktop, right? But it's as I always explain, it's like it's the light switch. When the light bulb is in the middle of the room in the ceiling and it's inaccessible, the alias is just the light flip, that switch that you flip in order for the light bulb to turn on. Now, if you really want to use that one, you can access it from the alias. Does that make sense? But it's not the file itself. So don't worry, if you get rid of this alias, you trash it, you delete it, it's not the file. It's just an access to the file. This is where the real file is. Now, this helps, of course, when you have so many files that your computer starts to be uncomfortable, but it also helps from the point of view of basic organization. If you have a wonderfully organized set of material in your documents folder, it makes more sense that every time you go find something, it's in the right place. And then if in the moment that you're writing your novel, you need it to be handy, well, then make an alias of your novel, put it out here for the 3 months that you do your novel. When you're done and it's published, you get rid of the alias. The file never moved from its rightful place, and it's been organized and it's been filed in the right place all the time. Does that make sense? Any questions about that in particular?
Deanna, so for sure, if you do put like a novel there, and then when you're done with it, you're not gonna lose because it's in your actual file, right? You're
Yeah.
not deleting it.
No, so watch. Here I have the desktop documents in iCloud Drive. Here I have the desktop documents in Alias. I'm going to move it to the trash. The Alias, move to the trash. It's gone. Did anything happen to the file? Nope. Right? The file is still completely there. If I go look at my trash, I'll see that the Alias is in the trash. There it is, together with other stuff I trashed last week, right? But not the file, okay? So it's not a copy of the file, it's not a duplicate of the file, nothing. It's just a link. You know, you go to the website, you understand links, you click on a link and it takes you somewhere. So this is a link that takes you to your file, and you get rid of the link, but the file is still there. Okay, any other questions to understand aliases really well? To be comfortable with aliases? Okay, so now even—
Does that work? Excuse me.
Mhm.
Does that work the same to put it on the dock?
Well, now I'm going to explain about how to put it on the dock if you want a clean desktop. So for people who really still wanted their stuff on their desktop, because there's always someone who goes, you know, I really need to see the picture of my daughter. I want it on my desktop. Okay, make an alias. Put it in the right place and make an alias. Okay. Now, for those of you who, someone just arrived, so let me get another screen capture of the participants out list. I didn't do a very good job. Ms. Bill just got here. I'm trying to capture everyone's attendance. Here we go. Now, once you do that and you bring them in, you still need to then decide if you want to keep them under something called file from the desktop, or if truly, if this was the novel, it should go into novel. And if it's your taxes for that year, it should go into financial. You know what I mean? But here's the important thing. Let me actually make that alias again. Make alias. And I want you guys to make an alias of some file. I don't care which file, make an alias of it. And then drag it out onto your desktop. Now, here's the important thing that you need to know. If I now decide to move this file somewhere else, I made the alias of it when it was inside of this folder. What if I now decide to move it and I drag it and I put it inside of the folder called clients? That's totally fine. This thing still knows where to find it. It doesn't matter where you put it. When you click on this alias, it totally knows that it's moved space and it's somewhere else. Information goes with it. So you don't have to make a new alias, okay? You can move this, rearrange, reorganize any which way you want, and the alias always knows where to find it, okay? So it's not like, oh, now it needs to live inside of a folder called files in the desktop. Nope, it can move around. So I personally have not used aliases since the times of the PC. Now this is what the PC does, by the way. Not to naysay PCs, but they're not pretty. So I guess I am naysaying. You know when someone says not to offend, but, and then they proceed to offend, right? So yeah, I guess I don't think PCs are pretty. So the PCs are covered in icons and aliases, and they're called shortcuts on a PC. And yes, it doesn't affect the use. So you can do that if that's comfortable for you. But I'm going to get rid of this one again. What the Mac does in order for you to have quick access to your documents, assuming that you want to, let's call this file here, I'm going to call this file right there. I'm going to call it, no, let me see, one that I don't need. I'm going to call this file right here. I'm going to choose one of these. I don't care which. This one is going to be called my novel, right? And I'm making it really big so you guys can see. Say that that's my novel, right? It's a file that I want to open and close for months on end. Okay? I don't want to have to get to my computer, open the Finder, go to my documents, and find my novel to open it, which isn't too many steps, but you know, I don't want to do all that. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm not going to drag it out to the desktop. It's going to be that I'm going to drag it out onto the dock, but into a particular place in the dock. Remember how we wanted a new application on the dock? We grabbed an application and we dragged it here and we just kind of waited until it opened up and we had a nice little spot right there and we dropped it. Remember that? We did that, I don't know, second or third class. Okay, so this is fine because it's an application. Now I'm going to remove from dock. All of these things are applications. All of these are applications. And then you see a line right there, a little tiny, an old system. You see one line and just see the trash. Having some hobby. Sierra didn't have this. Maybe High Sierra. You actually have a little line. Going to you see what I mean? And the little line dividing. Yeah, that's okay. So if you have an older system, you only have one line. Okay, so these three, what is it? The last three applications that you opened that are not here in doc and right here. See how I don't have Zoom here in doc. So it's kind of a reason for applications. I have Chrome in doc, so it's just here. Word in doc is just here. You use it, you might not see much in there, right? But if you use any application that's not doc, look here, this is going to use again soon. And so, but it's like last three. So say that tomorrow I use Excel. And Excel is not in my doc, then it pushes out the oldest one, and then I will have maybe only Excel, Chrome, and Zoom, right? So it just refreshes the last three apps that I've used. Before I go on to explain this side, does that make sense? Any questions? Not seeing any questions, no hands. Okay, so that's what that is. It's the reasons for applications that were not used. And then on the right side of this line, you have, most of you guys should have either a folder or some files here that if you hover over them, and it won't look like mine necessarily, but it says downloads. See how it says downloads? And then you might have one or two things here in between the trash and yourself that are something that you've minimized. It's in this spot right here that you can create what's called a stack. For some reason, it has the term stack, where you can put things that you want to open easily. So back to my documents, I'm going to grab my novel. So watch. Same thing we did for applications. I'm going to grab my novel. If I stop right here, I create, over here, I create an alias for it. If I stop and wait and put it in here until it opens up, boom, there you go. Now my novel is sitting on my dock. It's an alias, but it's kind of an organized alias. Because instead of having it loose on my desktop, I have it sitting right here. And when I decide it's time to come and work, I just click on this thing and boom, it'll open up Word. It happens to be a Word program. I just haven't used Word in this computer yet, so that's why I'm not going to do that. And my novel opens and I use it. And when I close it, now, did the novel go away from here? Is it gone from the documents folder? Nope. That's where it lives. This is, again, anything on the dock is a pointer towards the file and the place where it belongs. Does that make sense? So,
yes, one question.
So hold on. Active files, like your taxes when you're working on your taxes, novels when you're working on your novels. How many files do you have that you constantly need open all the time? If you have one of those, that's where you should put it. But what if it's a whole folder? What if it's a whole folder because it's not a novel folder, but you have a folder called a novel, and then it has 15 chapters, and you have one file per chapter? Well, you can also put a whole folder in there. So you could have this whole folder in here, not just a file. And then when you click on that, there you see each one of your novels, chapters. Yes.
So all of these are in their preview, right?
Yep.
I mean, so now it doesn't say my novel like on the desktop. It just is in the I mean, you have to know that it's in that preview.
Well, you hover over it, look it up, and it says my
Okay.
novel.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I was just surprised because I could see what you were doing, but then when I just see the picture, so that's why I had to make sure I.
No, it's a good
understood
point.
that. Okay.
Let me show you, if this were, I can have, if I have this on my desktop, let me make an alias again. This is an alias of it. That's how it looks. It's called my novel. This is an alias, and if I hover over it, it's called my novel, right? So it's the same exact thing. That's the real file right here. It hasn't changed. I made an alias, and it's, I am gonna, of course, in a biased way, say it's littering my desktop, or it's nicely placed on my desktop, whichever way you want to see it. Or instead, I have decided to put an access to it on my dock, and I put it right in this area between the trash and this line. And if I hover over it, I get the name of it. And if it's a folder of stuff, then I do this and it's in the folder. So it's supposed to be there. So what I want you guys is to go to your documents, find something that you would like to have handy, or anything just to try this out, and grab it and drag it to this little spot right there. And there you go. And now this is an image, and when I want to see it, I click on it, there it is, and then I'm done. But that's not moved from there. It's just been put in here. Do y'all want to try that with one file? Move something from your desktop, not move it. The file stays where it is. Grab it and move it until something opens up. See? It has to make that space. If you let it go right here, you have moved it. It's not there anymore. Now it's back to being on my desktop. Okay, that's an actual move. That's not an alias. That's not a stack. It's gone. I have moved it. I need to put it back in there. Okay, now it's there. I can make an alias, or I can make, this is called a stack, and have it handy. And if I don't have an alias and get rid of my alias, then that allows me to have a clean desktop. And if I have things open, say that I have a bunch of open things, which is typical, right? You have a bunch of stuff open, and then you need to go to your desktop to find something. And who was it that, was it Hannah who asked me, or Ann? One of you guys say, how do you quickly go to your desktop? Well, you can't. How do I go to my desktop now? Easily. But there's the file I need. These are the things that I would have had on my desktop instead of have them here. So I can easily just click on this to open that which I want to get to. See how it's much more accessible than the desktop, or than an alias? Does that make sense? I'm seeing some puzzled faces, so ask me your questions.
I gotta get out of what I did here. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Ask me your questions.
Can you just demonstrate one more time taking it off, or, you know, from the documents and getting it onto the dock, just so I can watch you do it again?
Yes. So I'm going to hide Safari, which is what I need to do now. See, I need to hide a program in order to see it. Open a Finder. Go to my documents. Okay. So I'm going to grab this thing called Family PowerPoint. You need to click and drag it and take it somewhere. Now, I know that if you're with a mouse, this is a bit easier, and this is one of those places where it's hard, because in real life, I make you guys practice the drag.
Also, I can't see your dock because it's covered up with some Zoom stuff.
Oh, darn it. I've been showing my dock all this time, and you guys can't see it? Really?
I can see it.
I'm seeing it fine.
I can see it.
I can see it. I can see it.
Okay, I'm so sorry about that. If you can't, try to hit your escape key See if you hit
Okay.
your escape key and then that your zoom might become less, it might fill out less of the screen and it might move out a bit. Did that work? Did that help at all?
No.
No.
Let me try the view option. Well, I'm already on 50%. To window.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yikes.
Oh, well.
That's,
Anyway.
I'm
Anyway,
on
what
side
you
by
did-
side at 100%.
Side by side at 100% is allowing you to see me and the desktop. Can you
Side
try
by
that?
side. I'm trying side by side. I still don't, it's side by side 100% for some reason. Oh, let me see. I go up to your little buttons on the upper left, but I still don't see your dock.
Well, I don't know how to make you see my dock because
That's okay.
I
You
can't.
can just tell me. You're taking that thing and you're dragging it and you're just lowering it into the dock.
Yeah, and you basically,
band.
you load it into your dock and you wait until, you have to put with your mouse in between two other things and wait until they part waters. They kind of like open up and make space for it, and then you put it in there and let go.
Okay.
The other
I'll try that.
other icons are going to go whoops and make space for the one that's coming in.
Okay.
So give it a try.
Window.
The main the main problem with
Window.
okay, guys, hold on. Don't speak all over one another. I can't help. The only problem with this situation becomes when I am in person there. Some people have a hard time with a click and drag, especially if you're doing it on a touchpad, right? Because a click and drag on a mouse is easy. And I have to say, you know, I highly recommend people using a mice on their computer. It's as easy as buying one, plugging it in, or using a wireless one. It is much easier to use than your finger. But on a pad, if this is your little pad that you move it thing, sometimes the way to do a click and drag is to click down with one, I don't know how to demonstrate it here, click down with one finger and then drag with the other, right? Or something like that, and that gives you a drag. Try that. Other than that, in person, I can demonstrate that. I don't know how to go in and show your hands here other than, yeah, Dot?
I was having trouble seeing your dock, but then when I changed the view to fit to window, I could see your dock better.
Okay, you want to try that? Fit to window? See
Okay.
if that helps you, Chris.
Okay.
I don't know, but
Yeah, there I can. I mean, your window is smaller within the Zoom thing, but I can see the dock.
okay. So as long as you can see it, let me demonstrate that again, just because it might help you have a bit of an idea of what's happening here. So now I'm going to grab another file, this one. Okay, I got so many. And I'm going to drag it down and see how when I put my mouse right there, my mouse, nothing's happening. As soon as I, whoop, there we go. See how they just kind of like parted ways, made space, right? And then once it's parted ways, I let go, and there it is. Now it's
Okay, I'll try.
and then you guys, when you're done and you don't want it, you can do just like we did with icons. You can either grab it and drag it off until it says remove, boom. Or you can right click, options, remove from dock. Right click, options, remove from dock, or grab it and drag it off. Your choice. The one that you should always keep here, the one that is up on by default here is the downloads. And the downloads tends to live here and opens up in this little kind of fan formation, right? And so the last thing you downloaded shows up in this fan formation. And if you want to see them in the Finder, you have to go all the way to this top little Finder, and then it opens up your desktop. And then it's an easy access to your downloads. Yes, Anne?
Yes, I can drag something from my documents to my desktop, but I can't get it to get to the dock. Nothing parts.
Okay, so listen,
I have the same problem.
Okay, so listen, you guys. I'm gonna grab a file, right? If what matters here, let me just show you first. What matters is the tip of your mouse. See that little tiny mouse right there? The tip of the mouse is all that matters. So watch. Look at how long a name this whole thing has, right? The tip of my mouse right now is right there, like at the bottom left of this file. And the moment the tip of my mouse touches another file, nothing works. It needs to be in your tip of your mouse has to touch the space in between. See that? But if I try to drop it there, it doesn't work. If I try to put that there, it doesn't work. It needs to touch the space. Okay? The space, then you let go, and then it works. Okay? So let me just demonstrate that one more time. Anything that I grab, it's about putting your mouse, not this whole thing I'm dragging with me, but your mouse in that space, because it doesn't work if I try to drop it on top of stuff. Nothing moves, see? It needs to be right in that space. Did that help at all?
No, it didn't work.
Okay, so now go ahead, and I would like to see this demonstrate and see how I can help, because I'm sure if it's not working for you, it's not working for someone else. Do you mind sharing your screen? I'm gonna stop my sharing. Okay, where are you? There we go.
Is that, you have it?
Perfect. Yes, I do.
Okay. So I'm going to take letters.
Yes.
And I'm going to move it over.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh, where did I say it had to go? Between the trash and the black line. So way over to the right. There you go.
Oh, because I only have one black line.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, to the left of the line, it's applications. To the right of the line, it's files. And since this is a file, it just doesn't let itself be, it doesn't allow itself to settle itself into the wrong side. Hopefully that helped someone else too. So can you stop your sharing? Anyone else for whom it wasn't working? Any other person for whom this might be a question? Chris, is yours working now? I can't hear you.
I'm trying to get back to where I can try it. Is there, oh, there's a grid over my, let's go on to another question while I figure this out.
Okay, all right. Yolanda?
So I did that. I made that like an alias or something, and it's I put it, I drag it to near the trash can. It went there, but what I dragged there is still, so it's there, but there's another one folder still on my desktop.
Can you share your screen?
Okay. Okay. Let me see. How do I do that? Let me see.
Okay. Go to the big green button.
Okay. And then share.
And then share again. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. So can you see that right there? This is my doc.
Yeah. Hold on, guys. Just so you know, Yolanda likes to have her doc on the left side. It's still a doc, but just so you all not get confused. That's the left. That's a doc, but on the left. Yes.
So you can see that, and this is also on the document. I pulled, okay. Files from desktop to sort, alias, it says alias, okay?
Yeah, let me speak, Yolanda, let me speak. The problem here is that instead of putting from the documents folder into the stack, what you did is you created an alias first. See far to the right of the island where you made an alias with an arrow?
Yes.
And then you drag that alias onto the doc, okay? So that alias onto the doc just copies, it's not the file. So you can get rid of the alias from the desktop, and this one is enough to work, or you can just avoid, just move it to the trash. And now you can either use that with that little arrow if you want to, or if you don't like it to have the arrow, you drag it out and bring it straight from the desktop. It's exactly the same. It just this might help you if you haven't. It doesn't matter. At this point, if it's an alias in the doc or if it's the real icon on the doc, it's 100% identical, except for the fact that that it has that little arrow because what you dragged in was the alias, but it knows where the files are. So if you click on that, go ahead and click on that and you'll see. Click on that. Oh, do you not, and don't say open files from the desktop. You know what? Do you have anything in there?
Yes.
Okay, so click. Okay, so then I would, it's not the same then. Then you should probably put the document in here. So drag this one out and get rid of it and I'll help you put the right one in.
There's an option.
Yes.
It says option. Should I click on option?
Just,
Remove
yeah,
doc?
remove from doc, yeah. And then go open your Finder and we'll put the right thing in there.
Okay, so
Okay,
now
so go to file. Okay, so where is that document? Where is that folder?
that one right, the second from under the
Okay,
pass.
so grab it and drag it.
Out?
Drag it onto your, onto your doc. No, to the left, to the doc, to the
to the
spot
left.
where, yep, right there, but down, lower down. Yep. Yep, there you go, perfect.
Okay.
Now you can now you can close your Finder window. Okay. So now here's why it becomes useful. Say that now you're using your Safari and you're checking the news, or for some reason you need your window is covered up, which would be very typical to have your window covered up with stuff. Then you just go to your doc and click on that. Oh, you stopped your share. I wanted people to see that, but never mind. No, it's okay. You go to their doc and click on that, and there you access all the files that are in your files from the desktop.
Okay.
Instead of having to open a Finder window and hide your Safari, you've got them right there.
Just one tiny more question. When I did this, before it happened, before I was able to drag it to the document and then to this doc, there was the wheel that circled and circled and circled around, and that's so irritating. What are we supposed to do with that to let it moving and stop the wheel?
There's many names that are not very probably acceptable to say in present company for that wheel. It is frustrating to everyone and there is no way to get rid of it. It's your computer going, hold your horses, I'm thinking. And hopefully it works after that. Sometimes it's frozen and 10 minutes later it's still there. Other times it's just truly saying, wait, you did too many things at the same time. Give me a sec while I process, and after 30 seconds it turns off. But you can't hurry it. It's your computer going, wait a minute. Yeah. So guys, I want to give a break. So if you have an urgent question based on everything we just did that you cannot wait until after break to ask, that's fine. But otherwise, after break, I want to get us moving files. So it's 3:12. Let's have I wanted to have from 3:12, a little bit beep. It's the last day. Until when? Should I do a longer 15-minute one or a 10-minute one? 10. 3:22?
Okay.
Okay, 3:22, we're back. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
Diana, by the way, when I was trying to move that
It's
file,
actually 3:23 because it turned into 3:13. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
when I was trying to move that file, I was trying to put it on the wrong side of the black line. I had forgotten that part of it, so now it works.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm glad. Perfect. See you in 10 minutes.
And same for me, but I had to put it next to the trash, but anyway.
Yep, that's perfect.
they have helpers in there or what?
Yeah, sometimes they do.
Somebody's sharing.
Betsy sharing.
See, because when I go back here, whose is that?
That's Deanna's screen, I think.
It's Betsy's. It says up at the top. Her desktop's there, but she's not at
Oh,
home.
she's. Yeah, she's got to click on share screen. Get out of it.
Hell out.
So when she's teaching this again, it's at 9 o'clock in the morning class.
Yeah.
Okay, 9 o'clock is too early for me.
Thanks for sharing, Betsy. What is that a picture of?
It's Yosemite. I recognize it.
Oh yeah, the dome. Beautiful dome.
I want to know what Yolanda's island is.
So you can. Is Yolanda back yet?
I think it's
haven't seen
Ecuador, isn't it? The island, Ecuador?
Wow.
Where is Yolanda?
Oh, she's not back yet.
Not bad.
There she is.
Here I am. I was talking to you guys, thinking you guys were hearing me.
Oh,
Oh, no.
I was muted and I was like, okay, guys, I'm back.
okay.
So I stopped Betsy's sharing and I was going, oh, okay, guys, I stopped it. She can't answer you. And I was like, no one is talking to me.
I had a
Oh, this is weird.
Mhm.
Oh, yes.
Diana.
Yes, who's talking?
Diana, I had an idea about this lesson,
Mhm.
and this might help. In
What?
being, could you hear me?
I can hear you, but there's other people talking, so please, everyone, keep silent because the class has
Okay.
started. Yes.
Yeah, this lesson might help me in being a host on Zoom. Like you can place the material that you want on the dock. And then when you want to make a presentation, before you make a presentation, put those into the screen share. And this way you don't have that clutter that is usually there with all your systems. Would that work? They'll be
No.
neat and clean.
I'm sorry to hear you, Molly, but that is not how it works.
No,
It's great. It's a great idea though.
Yeah.
To put everything, to put everything you need in your dock to have it handy,
Yeah, just do it this way and then
but that
Okay.
doesn't help the mess of the Zoom screen. The mess of the Zoom screen, the only way to help that mess is by not having anything else open right
Open.
before you start your class. So, but right before you start your class or course or meeting or whatever you're gonna do, turn all your other programs off and then open only those that you have separated that are for the program. And then when you say share screen, you will only see those. There is no other way. There
No,
really is.
Thank
Zoom, went from being used by 1 million people to being used by 20 million people in a day. And they're growing and they're finding that there's things they can do better. But it became such a famous program out of necessity. And it's great, but it's not perfect yet. So
yeah. Okay, thank you.
no, you're welcome. Okay. So let's go back to, and now this time, since I've been sharing from the files that are in the cloud, I'm going to now switch to sharing from the computer that has files on my computer, or let me see, did I? No, because I moved the things onto the other one. Nope, I'm gonna keep sharing from this computer. Okay, so I'm gonna start sharing my screen again for us to keep working on Finder files. Any question meanwhile? No? Okay, so here we have my my documents. And I really want us to, at least, now that I've told you guys, put everything in here, at least let's try to figure out how to make this place into just maybe a max of 5 folders. And some of you might need more, right? But in general, I find that even with the gazillions of files that my computer has, about 5 folders is all I need to start with, because I make big categories of things. And so, as I said before, I have one that's called personal, inside of which I have, 20 folders for the kids, for our health information, for this and for that. Then I have one that's for each one of my, I'm a teacher here, right? But I'm also a graphic designer, photographer, web designer. And so I have, and they don't overlap, right? So I have work, but I have 2 separate ones, because one thing is all my clients and one thing is all my students. So then I have those 2 separate ones I have for my job, and I have my personal one. And that's kind of all I really need at the level of the documents. And then when you go into documents, personal, then I have a folder for financial, taxes. Well, in my case, taxes is complicated because I work for myself, and so I have family receipts and stuff in there, but then I also have the taxes for work, and then it all works out when I do my taxes. Then I have the health and my husband. Then I have all the host students. We have 1 or 2 host students every year during the year. We have a bunch in summer, so I have for all my host students. So all those information make up design. So if you, how much under how you organize them. The more you organize, you get the point where you have 20 hosts, you of your health and your taxes, and then you do all those travel, right? So it's about keeping it to your folders and your folders and so okay, the best thing I have to give you is, and I still put it in here. I create another one. So this is coming up here. Is the top and I don't know all of them until you get out of the peons. So it really matters to tell me what the bottom. This is like all the so mine are all work, right? So I'm gonna zoom and I'm gonna drop it inside of work, so that makes sense. But Jeff will be used for a product. It's a sound file. And remember, you can go over here and play it, whatever it is, and say, oh, that's something I like. But if it's a job, then it was for a little work, and I put it under work again. Does that make sense? I think some big decisions at first. And see, definitely. That's the guy that we have little. I did from the. So I did it to person. This one. Same thing. Will be considered personal. I don't know, depending, right? But let's say this one is so right now what I'm gonna do is imagine one game folder. Many of you guys know what you might not anymore, but you might have a lot of files from the past that you're starting to hold because you do one or something. Well, you still have a word you keep it there. But then if it's stuff you really don't need anymore, you don't get rid of, then I recommend just backing it to something and then getting rid of it from your computer. And maybe backups in Mac level 2. Okay, so it doesn't clutter out your computer stuff. That's great, but it might as be in the attic in your living room. You know what I mean? So right now, the contract work comes in there. Okay? So the ordinance position you put in place. Okay. So remember, you grab it. You start going. This is the tutorial. So to drag it out. Problem. Some people can't do it. Remember about the for the touchpad is it? So it's over the way. So do dragging stuff like this. So you need to be. I'm looking at something to do it right on the pad, the touchpad. It's hard to let me I do in this preferences. What's that? I'm gonna mute you guys because someone's got the radio or something on. Okay, I've muted everyone. If you try to talk to me, beware you need to turn yourself on. So I'm going into the system preferences, and if you go into the trackpad, okay, then there's little mini video instructions of how to do things. So I'm gonna go to the let's see where it shows you how to click and drag. Does it show us? Silent clicking. No, it's not showing the click and drag. Oh. Notifications, these are all gestures.
Diana?
Yeah, it doesn't
What
have
I-
a little video for click and drag. Yeah.
What I have to do is I have to hold down, because I have the trackpad and I have trouble doing it. But if I hold down with my left hand on the left side of my pad, hold it down, and then use my 2 fingers to move it, then I'm successful.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where I always say, you know, this, if nothing else, this is why it's really good to come to class, because I get to show this. But I don't know how to show it to you by Zoom. I've gotten to this is one of the hardest limitations, is that actual hands-on on the touchpad. If you can't perform comfortably certain things that are really important, like click and drag, I recommend get yourself, even if it's a cheap Windows mouse, which you can get for $9. You can't get a cheap Mac mouse, but you can get, well, maybe a used one, but you can't get a cheap Windows mouse. By that I mean one of these guys that has the line down the middle with the, I don't know if you have any light in here to see it, the scroll wheel, and you know, just regular old mouse. Attach that to your computer. They work. There's not Windows or PC, they work. What they don't do is they don't go side to side the way the Mac mouse does, but at least it lets you click and drag comfortably. Fingers don't do click and drag that comfortably until you know how to, and I always teach people in person, but you need to know how to click and drag if you want to organize and move things around, okay? So click on something, okay? And then you have to keep that hold onto it. So you need to keep it clicked as you drag it over. So the easiest thing is to, as Anna said, hold down with one. When you get good, you do it like a little walking thing with 2 fingers. But at first, it's easier to do it with 1 finger, you do the hold, and with the other finger, you do the drag. And then when you're good enough, you pretty much do, you know, like with 1 finger. And that's the click and drag. So I want everyone to do a right click and make a folder name again, a regular any old folder. What name should we call this one? Oh, I turned all your sounds off, so if you want to talk to me, you have to turn your sound on again. Let's call this one health info. Okay, and then hit enter. And then where will health info go? Will it be into personal or into work? I miss having your sounds on, but sometimes it gets scratchy, but I can't hear you now.
Personal.
So I'm going to drag it into personal. See how personal changes color? And there we go. Now in personal, I have health info and to lose things. So the thing is that if this is work, I throw it into work. So after a while, you have a folder that you named incorrectly, or that you want to rename, or that you made a mistake, right? So in this case, I have an untitled folder here. When I click on it, there's nothing inside. So I want to give it a name. I want to call it taxes and put it inside of my financial folder. So there's a couple different ways of doing it. One of the ways of changing its name is using the good old right click. If you're comfortable with a right click, you right click, rename. Once you rename, the whole name shows up again. And what's the thing I'm going to say to do right now, first of all?
Nothing.
Thank you, Paul. Absolutely nothing. In fact, something, which is take your hand off your mouse, off your pad, so that you can avoid doing anything. And then head straight to the keyboard and click on the first letter of the word taxes, which would be T. And then write taxes. So when you're done, you hit the return key. The important thing is to remember to not try to click in there to select untitled folders, to delete it, to then change, because then that's 25 things wrong can go, 25 things can go wrong. This is the easiest way. And then you grab taxes and you put it into financial, okay? Now this financial happens to be personal, so I put it in personal. Maybe some of you guys have so many financial deals, like you're stock traders or something, and it's a big, so you have it as your main document, right? So this is work. So ideally you'll get to the point where you have all this stuff in the right place, and then you'll have some things that you have no idea where it goes because you don't know where they are. But then we've gotten to a place where it's much better because you're at the place where you just have to analyze what you don't know. All right. So I want us to get there for a minute with your documents in the documents folder. And I'm going to answer, I don't have a ton of stuff, but some of you asked me the other day, well, what if I have a lot of things that I need to move at once? So look at this. I'm going to go into my downloads folder. I don't have 25 things here, but I do have more than one. And if I want to move that and that and that and that and that in, I would have to do that 5 times, right? So instead of doing that 5 times, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one that's at the very top of my list. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key and keep the shift key held down. And then I'm going to go to the bottommost one of the list that I want to move, which is this one. And see how all of them in between got selected? Now I'm going to do that one more time. First, I'm going to get rid of that selection by just kind of clicking, and it goes away. So you can do it upside down or downside up. I'll go to this one, hold the shift key, and then click on that one. This time, click, click. Works for contiguous files. They're all in a row. So say that I don't want to access miscellaneous files, and if I do this and this, trouble will in. So don't do it that you all need or all selected at the same time. So I'm going to go from there to here, and I'm going to say that these are in downloads. I want to save them, but they should all be in documents. So now after that, a whole bunch anywhere in the selected area, everywhere. And watch my tip of my mouse. This is very important. I'm going to grab from up here. Okay. The tip of my mouse is carried. So now a whole stuff here, some way back here. I can put this whole thing in documents and documents chain until I stop and move until the tip of my mouse touches documents. Then I let go and it moves in. All right. Now, go to your downloads and discover stuff that you don't want to trash and move them all into documents. First document is going to be an S. If you don't want it, right, move to trash from download. If you want it, move it to documents. Let all your S in documents. Okay. And then from documents, you go to documents, what I didn't want. And what I did want, I put it in documents. That's the ideal downloads folder. Now, you can't keep it like that all the time, but depends on how much you download, once a week, once a month. Go and clean it out. We've already cleaned out your trashes last week. Now you've cleaned out your downloads. Now you go into your desktop and you put everything in a folder and you throw it into documents. So basically now we're left with the fact that all our stuff is in documents, which is how it should be. Yeah? With the exception of photographs, which I will deal with when we talk about photographs in the iLife class, the rest of the files should all be in documents. But if you do have loose photos on your computer, for now, make a file here at the top level of documents, right click and call it photos. Not even photos, because photos is the name of the program and it's confusing. You can say pictures or something like that, right? Or photographs. And then any photos that you find or videos you throw in there. For now, at least they're in a place where you have all your images. And then when we learn about how to handle your files in the Photos program, I can actually tell you how to get them in there and get them out of here. Okay?
Diana?
Yeah.
For putting things into, you know, like a pictures file, does it matter what format they are? Because I have JPEGs and you know, PNGs and all kinds of different things. Can
Yeah.
you call them the same?
If these are photos that are personal photos that you're gonna want, you know, vacation photos, friends photos and stuff, you're gonna want them in the Photos app. the only photos, which 99% of the people, that's what they do their photos. Now, if it's for work, where you're using them for newsletter that you're writing, or for a client, or for the organization you volunteer for, and you don't want to have them in your scroll of photos of your daughter's wedding, then you don't put them in the Photos app, and then you leave them as a folder called Photos for my, political whatever. And then they really should go in your work folder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
In
But
that
there's no inherent problem in mixing the file format.
No,
Okay.
you should divide them by what they mean to you. These are photos for the newsletter. These are photos for the yada yada. These are photos for the yada yada. And if you really want to organize them well, you can still, and I'll teach you that in the iLife class, you would still put them in the Photos app, and then you would have an album for work photos, for the newsletter photos. So you can still do that. But at this point, it's easier to just recategorize them. And in this pictures, put anything that you should have in your personal folder. And then if it's work, then you put them under whatever client or organization or business that they belong to. Does that make sense, you guys? Because if you later want to go find the photo of that political cartoon, you probably won't find it under, your daughter's wedding. You're going to find them under the organization for which you picked out that political cartoon. So you all have to use your own knowledge of your material to figure out where would you find this best, and create a folder for that, and throw all that material in the same place. It's the easiest way to finish a project anyway, if all the stuff related to that is in the same folder. All right.
Can you put videos in there too?
Yeah,
Videos.
you can put videos in your Photos app. So in the pictures, you could actually rename it, right click, rename and call it pictures and videos, right? And then that's temporary, because when I have a chance, I'll teach you how to not have them there, how to actually put them in the Photos app. But that's a good point. So then I recommend having also one last thing. So this is all work, but inside of work, then I'm going to put one folder called my classes, my SVCC work, I'm going to call it SVCC. And so in there, I put all the things that are SVCC related. Of course, if you see my real folder for SVCC, I have a gazillion folders in that, right? One for each one of my courses, and then all the admin that I have to do, and all of the attendance sheets. But then it becomes one folder called attendance that holds attendance for my 3,500 classes. You know what I mean? So and then that is per semester. I have summer 2020, my 8 classes attendance, inside of SVCC. And everything that way becomes easy to find. My novel, let's say it's personal because I'm never going to print it, so I move it there. So you just keep moving things around until you find the right thing. And then there's always well, I have no idea like what to do with this file. Like this is a file that, for example, say that I say it, I have no idea what to do with it, right? Well, if you don't know what to do with it, I recommend at the top level to have also a miscellaneous files that I will deal with when I have time. So instead of having 250 empty and loose files, you will have one called miscellaneous, and then you put everything that you don't know what to do with in there. So now I can grab all of this, put it into miscellaneous, clients goes into work, family docs goes into personal. This one, I have no idea what to do. I put it in miscellaneous. This goes into work. This goes into work. And then all I'm left is files from the desktop, which ideally I will put them in the right place. And one is work and one is personal. By the time my file, I'll get now them in the right. So basically left with miscellaneous, personal, pictures and videos.
What does blue square mean?
What is the what?
Blue square.
What does that mean? This thing?
Yeah, the blue box.
Okay, it's a folder. Vanilla folder.
So it just means folder. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm trying to find one here, but I don't have one handy. Here. It's one of these guys, that has that little shape.
Okay.
So they happen to be blue, but it's that little shape of a folder.
Yeah, it is. Because it just confused me when you put pictures and videos into a folder. But I get it.
You have to consider, imagine if you just went and bought, 20 big Tupperware, Rubbermaid, whatever, those huge boxes, and you just start kind of putting things in and organizing them into different places. And they happen to be called folders here. And then folders within folders, right? So then if this is my documents now, look how clean it looks. Anything I had no idea what to do, I threw in miscellaneous. And then slowly I go, well, recipes, if I'm not a chef, they're personal. So then I put recipes into personal, right? And so, hold on, I just put it in there. And then when I want to look for a recipe, and here's an example that's a bit more laid out, I click into recipe and I have cookies or pasta or pizza, right? Or in family docs, I have dads or moms or daughter, but inside of mom, there's classes and recipes and stories. Inside of daughter, there's homework. Dad is health, right? So you end up having a ton of folders inside of folders inside of folders, but they're easy to find because clearly, family, that should be in there, right? Once you organize your material, you can have it, but before, because I know it's getting almost towards the end, I know there's some questions, but here's what I said. This is where it gets kind of hairy because inside of docs, inside of mom, inside of this, inside of masters, I have, right? So it's easier for documents. Well, you gotta find that flyer. Wouldn't it be easier if flyer were on my desktop right now?
Probably.
Right? Yeah. But the problem is that only works if I'm using that flyer all the time. So like a novel, that makes sense. Or the taxes that I'm working on right now. 1 second. Boys, I'm in class. But if I open my Finder and go to documents and everything is organized nicely, and go into personal and go into family and go into mom and go into, recipes for my cookies recipe that's fat-free or whatever, I put something in here, cheese. That's a long way to go to find that file. So if I need recipes handy all the time, not the cheese recipe, but all my recipes handy all the time, then I can go and say, okay, I'll grab the recipes folder and drag it down to my doc so that I don't have to go all the way in there all the time. And when I want to, I just go over here to recipes folder and there we go, there's my pizza. And then you get them quickly. See what I mean? So if there's something that's just stored because you're going to use once a year, fine, go all the way into the documents and find it. But if it's something that you're working on, the family, you're going to have a family reunion, and this family document is a PowerPoint presentation, someone's wedding where they put photos of the kids when they were babies, and well, you're working on it. So don't leave it hiding in there. Drag it all the way out into here, and then use it from here. And then when you're done, because the wedding is over and you probably won't see it again until it's the anniversary, then you can go ahead and remove it from the doc and it's still there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. I wish I had more chance to see what you guys are up to. Usually in class, what I do is I have people show me photos of what they're up to and I get a better idea. But each time you share your screen, it takes up a lot of the class time to see one person's. So if you have anything in particular you want to ask me about files that you don't recognize, this would be a good time. Like Yolanda asked me about, he has a lot of ICS files, .ics. Those files are calendar appointments that got exported, and there's no need to have them outside of the calendar appointments. So say you find a whole bunch of stuff you don't need, then grab them all by doing, shift, click, shift, and then just right click, move them to the trash and get rid of them, okay? So you don't need the ICSs at all. Any other files that you found that you have no idea about that you want to talk about?
I have some that are .acsm like Mary.
ACSM.
M like Mary at the end.
Yeah, I'm going to search for that because I have not heard of that. So when you ask me about these questions, it would be nice to know I or A? ACSM?
ACS Mary.
Extension. ACSM. What is an ACSM file? It's an Adobe content server used to manage and read ebooks. Okay. So the question is that it's probably, it contains data to activate and download the book, but not the book itself. It's used to legally download and read books. So you happen to have mentioned that you read a lot of digital books and that you download them. So that's an example. I don't download them anymore. I actually just borrow them from the library or borrow them from Audible. So I don't have any downloaded anymore. That's why I didn't recognize that. But if you have any of those, you probably want to keep them because those are the books that you should keep them. Yeah. Any other, see what I did, by the way? I don't know every answer in the world, but what you need to do is to put, yeah, I know. I know bazillions of extension files. I don't know that one. So you just put the little extension, but then say extension, because it could be, that thing could also stand for so many other things in the world. Explain extension file, and it just comes up and it tells you what it is. And if you still don't understand what it is, it's probably fine to trash it unless it's part of the system service, work. But if it's in your documents folder, it won't be part of the system library. Yeah.
So my question, which you probably won't be able to answer in this class, but I'm just putting it out there, is how to move what you receive in an email into documents or desktop, or because I found I've lost a lot of stuff thinking I had moved it properly, but needless to say, it didn't get moved.
Well, I will answer that. I will answer that quickly, although we will talk about that in macOS level 2 when we talk about email. But here's the thing. When you are in an email and you just have something that you received, you just download it. And when you download it, where does it go?
To my downloads folder.
So that's where you should find it. And then you move it. So if you know you got something in your email that you want, what you need to do is download it. And when you download it, don't wait 2 months. Go to your downloads folder, which is why it's got this little access right there next to the trash. Right there, that's the downloads quick access. So when you click on that, the last thing you downloaded shows up there. And if your downloads isn't full of stuff, when you open it up, it should only have the last 2 or 3 things you downloaded, which is then easy to move into your pictures or your folders or your.
Are you talking about downloads or preview? I mean, I understand the downloads sitting on my, sidebar.
Yeah.
But I'm supposed to have downloads down here in my doc too. I mean, I have previews.
No,
is that the same thing?
It's the same thing. So, for example,
Okay.
I'm going to go over here. This is how I download my rosters. I'm just showing you. I'm going to download a roster right now, right? So I need to log in first into my Pipeline account. I'm going to go download my Summer 2 roster for macOS level 1. Okay, submit. So it's downloading right now. I'm going to close that with people in. So I'm going to go to Excel and say download. So it's a button. I'm downloading it. Okay, do you want to download? Yeah. Okay. Boom. It went in. Now let me show you something. I'm going to hide that. I downloaded it. Sometimes you download forms to fill up or downloads, whatever. So if I go here to my sidebar, what do I have here right now? That's
class roster.
That's a CRN number. That's the class roster. Okay. But look, if I didn't have this because I didn't know how to use that, if I go down here and I click, what's that? It's the same thing. This that's down here is just a quick access to your downloads, just like this was the quick access to your novel, just like this was the quick access to anything you put in there. This is the downloads. When I click on that, it's the same place. So the downloads there and the downloads here are exactly the same place. It's 2 different places to see the same folder.
So do I have to move a downloads? Do I have to make a downloads folder there on my doc?
No, you probably have it. If you don't, it's because you took it out.
Oh.
90% of people, unless you manage to drag it out by mistake like this, where you got rid of it, right? And so if at this point someone showed me their bar, and it was, this is minimized, which is different. Someone showed me that they had nothing next to their bar. That means you've gotten rid of the downloads folder, because it comes with your computer. But it's very easy to remove. You saw how quickly I removed it. So you just grab it and you put it in there again. Just like I just showed you with a file. Grab your downloads from the sidebar, put it in there, and there it is. That's all that is. It's a quick access to your folders. And that way, if you just came from the internet where you just downloaded something, you don't even have to open your Finder. You know that you just go in here and there it is, your downloads. And since you only have 1, 2, or 5 things instead of 250 things, it's easy to find, because you've cleaned out your downloads folder from all the stuff that isn't necessary to be there. Does that make sense?
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. It's the other door. It's the other door to the same room.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Deanna.
Put
Yes.
download.
Hi, Deanna.
Gail.
You had asked if we wanted to share what we were doing. Everything Anna asked you was true for me. Everything that I had downloaded from emails for the last year and a half, all these lovely photos were the ones I had asked you about on Monday. While you were describing whatever you just did for 20 minutes, I did the control and the shift, and many of them were clusterable, some were not. And I just skipped the ones that were not appropriate, that were really documents. And I have now successfully moved all 98 photos and my 7 or 8 little documents. So Anna, don't freak out at all. They're just sitting there and they'll move. And I saved myself some trouble by putting everything on a desktop folder first, because I wanted to make sure that I could see it and cull it, which I did also. So now at some point, I got to run. I wanted to thank you, but I know later on I'll just move it to photos, the appropriate place, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it's amazing how people suddenly become like the converts to the whole like, whoa, this is awesome. I can see space.
I've been wanting to deal with the photos for a full year, but you know, Deanna, for me, the online approach to your class is working better than what was happening in class, because I used to sit in the back and I was hesitant to hold my hand up and disturb you from other students, and it's working great. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. You're welcome.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Gail, you had only 1 year of photos?
I don't use
Only
them.
one?
I'm a PC person, and I had downloaded very special dear family photos to this machine, and I did have 100, and so I'm dealing with them now though.
Yeah. So as Chris says, she cleared out things from like 2002. So you're lucky, Gail. You've got like, you've been doing your work on your PC, and you just had, these 100 photos. Some people have 2,000. Some people have 20,000. People come to class with me with computers that have never been checked at all. So anywhere you get to the end of this class is way better than where you were. So no one needs to compare themselves to anyone else. It's all good.
Okay, guys, thank you again.
Bye, Gail. Okay.
Bye.
Any questions? Yolanda asked me about the disk image. Does disk image are the DMGs, Yolanda? And yes, the DMGs, once you've installed that program, it's trash. But if it's old, don't just try to install it before you get rid of it, because you probably don't need it. So remember the beginning, I told you guys that anything that's a DMG or a PKG, get rid of, because those are just install files. Any other files that you came across that you don't know?
Question?
Yes.
Are you going to put the 2 last classes online for us to download?
Yes, the last one, this one, when it finishes, it'll be ready by tonight. But last week's divided into like 5 videos. I couldn't figure out why. I guess I was having interruption in the service. Remember that now and then it was kind of lagging. And so I need to open them up and kind of clip them all together. I did that before once, where I put 2 Illustrator classes together and then people had a hard time getting that they were the same one. So I need to open my iMovie and clip them all as one thing, save them and put it up. So yeah, I will do that to last Monday's class and today's class and put them up. So by the end of today, you should have them all there. And if not by tomorrow, you should have everything up in YouTube, and I'll have them in that same document that I always have them on.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Yes, Hannah?
Question, what is a CSV file? Is that like an Excel or something like that?
It is. In fact, that's what I just, oh, I forgot that I'm still sharing, and I had questions. I try not to have that, but CSV right here, it's a spreadsheet written in a certain way. But if you have Excel and you open it, Excel opens it. If you don't have Excel and you open it, it opens up in the numbers, the Apple's numbers program. It's a spreadsheet, and you can save as Excel or you can save as numbers. It's comma delineated tab or something like that. I don't remember the exact meaning of CSV, but it's a spreadsheet file for numbers and databases. So whatever is, so, oh, Chris, I wanted to show you 1 second. I'm glad you said that because it reminded me, when you need to go through all those 200 files that you still need to go to or more, remember what I said, that when you click on something and you have 250 here to see, click on the top one and then start hitting the space bar. And then you can hit your arrow down to see the next one, down to see the next one, down. So these are all previews. They're not, let me see in a place that I might have more here. So you click on the first one. Either you just start going down with the arrow to the next one, to the next one, if you see them here, if you have a good preview, or if you're not seeing a good preview, if you want to see it bigger, hit your space bar, and that's a big preview, and you go down with your arrow, down with your arrow, down with your arrow, down with your arrow. So none of these are open. These are previews for you to see them and to go, oh my God, that was from like 200 years ago. I don't need that. So then you hit the space bar again, and you just move it to the trash. And then you get to the next one and you go, oh, that's the best photo ever. I want to keep it. So you grab it and you put it in your pictures, right? And that's an easier way to handle files versus having to open each one of them completely. Now, if you have a slow computer, even this preview might be a bit slow. So then do this preview, which you got by going, you know, to see this preview. Remember, if you do this, you don't see anything. And then you have to do the space bar, which is what I'm doing right now.
Oh.
But if you are viewing show preview, then you just kind of do this and this and this, and you see a little preview right there, and you make this window, you know, kind of big. And if you don't need it so big, it takes less time if you see a small preview, right? But if it's a big one, then you see a big preview, and it takes a little bit more time, but that kind of lets you go, oh God, this cat, I don't know who he is. Someone sent it to me on the internet. It's cute, but I don't want it. Trash. Versus, oh my God, this is my favorite cat in the whole wide world. Put it in pictures and video, you know? And that's a quicker way than having to actually open every Word file, open every image, okay? So it's either your space bar and then down again, space bar up, space bar down, or just use this system, which you only get from in columns. If you're in the list view, you can't do that.
Can't do it. You can't do it.
You have to do it in the columns view to get this system. Okay?
Okay.
Is I hope to see quite a few of you guys in the macOS level 1, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of, hopefully you'll have more of this happening, that you've already organized and done stuff like this. And then we can actually start moving more blocks and get into in depth of how to do more of this work. Viola? Yeah?
I'm in the market for a new computer, and I'm not sure whether to get it before taking or repeating Mac level 1, or wait until I clean up this computer. I'm a little bit puzzled. I'm not sure I know how to clean up this computer yet.
No, don't bother. If you are in the market, like, I'm not saying hurry up to buy a computer if you don't need one, but if you're in the market for a computer, buy a new computer, move everything, and it's easier to clean up because it'll move much faster. Everything will be cleaner, and you'll spend half the time dealing with this stuff than if you try to do it on your slowest molasses computer. When you buy a new computer, if you do it in one of the stores, they help you transfer everything. And if you do it yourself, ask me, but the whole time machine, whatever, works also to transfer everything. And then you've got the same amount of stuff you have now in your new computer, which will have more space and it'll be much faster. And then you sit and do the same work you would have done now in a more efficient manner.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But I have a little
Hi,
flash
Victoria.
thing, but I forgot how to use it.
Flash drive. That won't be enough.
Drive.
That won't,
Then you can go.
okay, that won't be enough to transfer all the material from your computer. Even the basic system OS will take more space than a flash drive. So I wouldn't worry too much. I would just, if you go to the Apple store or whoever you go with, Mac Mechanic or iPower, and bring your old computer and your new one and say, I want to buy a new computer, but I need all this stuff transferred, and they'll help you do it.
Okay. When I buy a new computer, do I have to change my email address?
No, and nor your Apple ID. In fact, you need to keep the same one because that's one of the ways that everything gets transferred from one to the other.
Okay.
So
Thank
nothing, all you need is a new computer, that's all, but no.
So level 1 is going to be June 30th. And what's the time?
I think it's
You know the
9 to 12 or 12:30, right?
9 to 12:30, so they changed the timing.
Or
for
let
the
me see.
next
Yeah. I'll be sending, one of the things I need to do this weekend, I'll be doing is sending out all of the.
And level 2 is July 21st. And what time will that be?
One second. I'm looking for all of this stuff. So they're all level 1 and level 2 are from 9 to 12. 9 to 12. 9 to 12. The first one starts June 30th, Monday. No, Tuesday. It's Tuesday and Thursdays.
Okay, and level 2?
And level 2 starts when that one ends July 16th, and the new one opens, and the next one opens July 21st.
Yeah, what time is that?
Same, just like
9 to
this.
12,
Kind of
12:30.
when we get a system going like that, we keep the schedule the same. We just finish one and start the next one. And then the Living the I Life, which by the way, already has 21 people in it, and I haven't even advertised it. So if you want to get in on it, please hurry up, because once I send my email, these classes just get topped up.
Right.
Which I will this weekend. That one is Mondays and Wednesdays from 1 to 4. And that's the one where you handle photographs.
That's what I want, yeah.
And if we start getting to, guys, if you start getting to sign up to any of these classes and you get a message that the class is closed, they were actually, don't seem to have done it, but they were going to up the cap. Like this class got up to 35. They're going to up the cap because a lot of people sign up to these classes and then they don't come. So they've been upping the amount, but otherwise right now there's place for 3 more. And after that, people start getting told it's closed. So they're going to up them up. But once it's bigger than that, then we don't let you in. And a lot of people wanted to take this class, didn't get in. So if you're interested, sign in.
I'll do right now, yeah.
And then I'm also teaching Photoshop for web design, web coding, and responsive web design. There's a whole bunch of web classes. So if you know of anyone who, you guys, and nothing is too hard for anyone, by the way. They're all introduction classes. So if anyone is interested in any of that, please sign up for those too, because once I advertise it, these guys go pretty fast too. So, okay. Any other questions?
No,
That's Deanna.
Yes.
It's Victoria. Will you be teaching Mac OS 1 in fall?
I don't know yet. Usually in the fall, I'm teaching so many credit classes that that's why I delegated my classes to Bruce. But because of a whole bunch of weird stuff going on underneath, nothing weird wrong, but MQs, which is like minimum qualifications, whatever, Bruce can't teach them at classes anymore. So now I don't know who's going to be teaching them, if at all, or if they're going to wait until I can do them in spring, or if they're going to there's a chance that my credit classes might not go because there's a lot low enrollment there, in which case I might be teaching them also in the fall. We're trying to figure it out.
Okay,
So,
we just
yeah.
don't.
We're
we
not,
can't- we
we're
can't
not
do-
morning people, so we don't like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person and I don't like 9 o'clock either, but hey, on the other hand, in the summer, it's better to have it early and not in the middle of the day. Yeah.
That's true.
You see, the thing is that what we try to do is have schedule during the year. I usually teach it in the afternoons or in the evenings. And so in the summer, they're trying, you know, so people have, people who say that going to a class at 4 p.m. is too late, they can teach them at 9. We try to give variety. That's why I see so many different faces all year round. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in the fall because, well, someone's going to have to teach them, but I don't know unless they fixed Bruce's MQs, and I don't know what that would take. So, yeah. So, anyone else have a question?
I have a question for you, but it's not related to the class.
Okay.
Just wondering if you had heard from Vince Wong and if how he's doing with his family
Yeah.
stuff and if he's teaching again.
He taught, thank you, by the way. If you guys know Vince Wong, his mother passed away at the end of last session, which is why I took over one of his classes. But it happened before COVID, so it wasn't COVID. And, you know, as well as you can be when your mother passes away, but he's fine. He was back to teaching. I know that he is teaching in the fall, and I believe he's scheduled for the summer as well. Let me check. Vince, no, not Vince, but Wong I need to put in. Huh, not summer 2. Fall, non-credit, I don't know if it's already set up. Yeah. Yeah, look, he's got a whole bunch of classes set up for the fall. But I thought he had something for summer too as well. Let me check again. Nope, I guess not summer too. So in the fall. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'll harass you for a while more.
What's that?
I'll harass you for a while more.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I don't mind being second fiddle to Vince. He's awesome. Vince and I have this absolute, like, he and I respect each other so much. We do consider ourselves to be very akin in how we like to teach. So we always send each other flowers and, you know, like verbal flowers and that kind of thing. So yeah, very happy with, hopefully he's fine. I talked to him last month. I haven't talked to him lately, but okay.
We'll look forward to your classes in the future.
Thank you, Jack. Take care.
Thanks. Take care.
All right, guys. If there's nothing else, we'll just say good ta-da for now. Bye, Chris. Bye, Hannah. Bye, Viola, Yolanda, Dorothy, Robert, and Lonnie, and Victoria. Lonnie, Victoria, who are in one place.
Hannah.
And Sue, which I haven't seen today, but you're there. Yep.
Do you happen to have a teacher who teaches like you on the PC side?
Vince would be as near as it gets.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. There are 2 new teachers, by the way, whom I haven't met. I met one of them on the PC side because I had to do some. I was doing teacher evaluations, but I have not met the other one, and I've heard good things. But you know, you hear good things. People like some people or not. I can't. When you ask who teaches like me, I can't tell you because I haven't met them. But I do know the other 2 are Norma or Vince, and Vince teaches more like me. But I've heard good things about what's his name? What's his name? I don't remember his name.
Eric Jackson? No.
No, the Eric Jackson, I remember his name. It's the other name that I don't remember. Summer, probably record. Let me see for fall if I go to one of the office classes, if his name shows up. As I'm saying, I don't, not called off, but Word. I don't know, what would it be called? I don't know what he's gonna be teaching. Nope, you know what? I don't remember his name. Sorry, but if you see a name in the catalog that's not Eric Jackson, nor Norma, nor Vince, nor mine, it's him.
It's not Buckhart, is it?
No, that's Bruce. No. There's another name. I don't know. Anyway, maybe he's not teaching anymore, but he was teaching. They just hired him, and I was told he was good, but if he's not in the catalog, maybe he decided he didn't want to. I don't know. I met everyone else. I just didn't meet that one. I just heard good things. That's all.
Okay.
So that said, I don't even remember who said good things. So it's not like, stamps. It's not a stamp of approval. It's usually you hear bad things. When you don't, then it's neutral. And when you hear good things, it's usually good. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, bye guys.
Bye, Diana.
Bye. Let me know how it goes with your new computer. Okay. Bye, Dorothy.
Bye.
Bye, bye guys.
Go down 48%. Let's put it in.